Are you currently doing an MBA or a finance degree, or are you enrolled in a computer science program? Are you a parent who is planning to send their kids to get these professional degrees? One word, don't. Here is one number to start with. Indian graduates chasing white-collar jobs are up 74% in the past 3 years. White-collar job openings are up just 2%. Keep this massive gap in your mind right now. We will come back to it later on in the video. The point is that what used to be a golden ticket, a job guarantee scheme of sorts, is now practically useless. I'm not saying that you can't get a job after doing an MBA or studying computer science. It is just that the job vacancies are shrinking fast and the jobs don't pay well anymore. And unless you're from the top 3 or 4 IITs or IIMs, you simply cannot command a good salary. I literally mean only the top few IITs and IIMs. The rest that have spawned across India in the past 15 years are only a shade above other private colleges when it comes to placements and starting level salaries. In fact, even in the elite IIMs and IITs, median salaries are either stuck where they were a couple of years ago or they've actually fallen. Stick with me, I will give you the numbers later on. But by the way, this massive crisis of good, stable and lucrative jobs that used to be the dream come true for India's middle class, this crisis is not just restricted to freshers. It is affecting almost every white-collar professional across the board. And if you are a mid-career professional, you are probably aware of this change. 3 years ago, you would have got an occasional call from a headhunter, or someone on LinkedIn might have contacted you offering you a position. But over the past couple of years, this has completely dried up. Let me show you where these numbers that I quoted come from. India's most respected private sector data company, CMI, estimates that the number of graduates, the kind of people who look for white-collar jobs, has risen, as I said, by a whopping 74% between May 2023 and May this year. I've taken rolling 3-month averages here to smooth out any monthly fluctuations that might cause errors in our calculations. But what about the state of white-collar jobs in the same period? One robust indicator here is Naukri's JobSpeak Index, which looks at new job vacancies posted on the platform and also analyzes searches by potential recruiters. Between May 2023 and May this year, the JobSpeak Index has increased by just 2%. Again, this too is a smoothed out 3-month rolling average. I repeat what I said right at the beginning. Graduates increased by 74%. White-collar job openings barely increased in 3 years. This number actually hides a bigger cause for worry. Naukri's data shows that in the same period, vacancies in the IT services and software industry fell by 8%. There was a bigger bloodbath in the banking and financial services sector. Here, the JobSpeak Index actually fell by a massive 17%. Another source for numbers on white-collar hiring in India is the recruitment firm Foundit's Insights Tracker. The latest one for May 2026 says white-collar hiring in India has reduced by 4% in the past 1 year, with a much steeper decline of 9% in the past 6 months. Foundit's survey confirms that the worst hit sectors are IT and what is called BFSI, or banking, financial services and insurance. Now, hiring in the IT sector was down 4% in May 2026 compared to last year, according to Foundit, while it is down 8% in BFSI. Why are these two sectors important? Because since the 1990s, they have been the biggest sources of white-collar jobs for India's middle class. It is almost poetic actually. The two sectors sold to you as the middle class's salvation are now pulling up the ladder. Now, it is true that these are estimates from recruitment platforms, so they won't actually capture what is happening on campuses, where graduates get direct job offers from companies without going through intermediaries like recruitment agencies. The clearest picture comes from the big IT firms, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL Tech. In 2022, in the aftermath of COVID, which had made the entire world turn digital, these big 4 Indian IT firms had together hired roughly 244,000 graduates directly from campuses. This fell sharply to just 62,000 in 2024. Since then, it has recovered a bit, and the expected numbers for 2026 is roughly between 77 to 87,000. Although there are no exact figures available to us for how many computer science students or graduate every year, estimates suggest that there are at least 5 lakh fresh computer science graduates who will be looking for jobs this year. Out of these, according to NASSCOM's estimates, India's IT sector will absorb only 1.3 to 1.4 lakh people in 2026. This massive oversupply of computer science graduates in India has completely squeezed entry-level pay, which has been stagnant for a decade now at roughly between 20 and 30,000 rupees a month. And when you adjust for cost of living, what freshers are paid by IT companies today is 40% less than what they got 10 years ago. Inflation over the past 10 years means that what you can buy with 25,000 rupees today would have cost just 15,000 10 years ago. You can look at it from another direction, right? The living standard that an entry-level salary of 25,000 fetches in 2016 or fetched in 2016 will cost 40,000 today. When salaries stay stuck at 25,000 a month for 10 years, it is effectively a massive decline in the standard of living. By the way, if you think that this decline is only for young people from second or third rung engineering colleges, then you're mistaken. As I said earlier, other than the top 3 or 4 IITs, the rest have had a bad record at placing students in the past couple of years. And even at the top IITs, median salaries have remained stuck at 17 to 22 lakh rupees per year since 2023. And the situation is the same for the IIMs. Again, only the top 3 to 4 IIMs have managed to get good jobs for the students. Here too, median salaries have been stuck in the 31 to 35 lakh per year range for the past 3 years. In fact, peak salaries have dropped in almost every IIM. So why is this happening? To understand this, we need a short history lesson on why MBAs, finance degrees and computer science programs became so important for India's middle class. I promise to make this brief. I'm not going to take more than 2 minutes. Okay? The reason was the major economic changes that took place from the early 1990s when government policy gave a huge boost to corporate jobs, especially in finance and IT and consulting. The first push was privatization, which led private companies into restricted sectors and let big businesses grow even bigger. The second big boost came from the financial sector, which got deregulated. Lending norms were eased, and banking, which was once monopolized by government banks like SBI, was opened up to private and foreign banks. The RBI lowered reserve requirements, and this triggered a revolution in lending, both commercial and personal. From 1992, foreign institutional investors or FIIs were also allowed to buy Indian equities, injecting a massive dose of capital into our stock markets. The NSE began anonymous electronic trading, taking investing far beyond the old cartel of brokers, and credit cards boomed, first through foreign banks, then through ICICI, HDFC Bank and other private banks in India. The third and perhaps the most important stream of change concerned IT services. The Software Technology Park Scheme of 1991 let export-oriented IT firms import equipment duty-free, pay no tax on export profits, and they also enjoyed corporate tax holidays for 20 years until it finally lapsed in 2011. State governments also helped them by giving land at literally throwaway rates. Every government, centre and state, mollycoddled IT companies, helping them turn into the big giants they are today. Then there were the consulting firms. McKinsey came to India in 1993. Bain and Accenture were close behind. These were followed by the big accounting firms, Ernst & Young, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC. So the middle class got a never before opportunity for lucrative, stable and respectable private sector jobs. That is what caused the mad rush for MBAs, finance degrees and computer science courses. It was almost, as I said, a job guarantee scheme for the middle class, and for the lucky few, it was also an H-1B ticket to America. The question then is, why has this cruise ship of white-collar jobs that was taking India's middle class along suddenly hit an iceberg? The reasons for the collapse are actually the same as the reasons for the boom. Cheap intellectual labor and the spread of finance capital. I told you earlier that the reason why India's IT and finance sectors saw such massive growth in the 1990s and 2000s were the crucial changes in India's economic policies in that period. But that is only part of the story. We were taking advantage of the revolutionary changes that were taking place globally, in the global economy. There were three crucial changes here. First, the deregulation of finance across the world, which allowed vast quantities of money from developed economies to flow across international borders into companies and equity markets in every part of the world. The second was the spread of computers, which allowed all information and intellectual work to be digitized. And the third, and probably the most revolutionary, was the spread of the internet. Multinational companies and investment banks could now digitally move their money at lightning speed across the world. And also, just as they had done to blue-collar work by outsourcing it to China, they could now outsource white-collar work via the internet to remote workers sitting elsewhere. India's middle class, with its English language education, was perfectly placed to gain from this radical change. No other country could compete in terms of providing relatively cheap, white-collar, English-speaking intellectual labor. The result was that India's IT companies became the most valuable on our stock markets, and at the same time, they employed lakhs of white-collar workers who now had money to spend, save, and invest. This made Indian banks valuable too, and as the financial sector expanded, India's equity markets began to attract foreign investors too. Understandably, therefore, India's middle-class white-collar revolution was largely driven by these two sectors, IT and finance. Now the exact opposite is happening, by the way. The first trigger was AI. The AI agents have become more and more capable of handling routine IT jobs. The big Indian IT companies have realized that, and they don't need so many people anymore. They don't need so many software engineers and coders, so they have slowed down on hiring freshers and have also been actively sacking middle managers. Investors now believe that Indian IT companies are not going to grow at the same scorching pace that they had set in the past 3 decades. So their valuations have tanked in the past couple of years. Now, banks and finance companies have also replaced people with AI agents, but that is not the only reason for the sharp collapse in hiring in the financial sector. The bigger reason is that global finance now knows that the India growth story is not as promising as it seemed even a decade ago. One big reason is that the middle class is shrinking. It is earning less, spending less, saving less, and investing less. It also means the middle class is less likely to take big ticket loans like home loans, which used to be a big source of business for Indian banks. This is a pincer attack on India's financial sector, by the way, both from global capital, which is going away, and from Indian savers and borrowers who are not spending that much. So if IT and financial services shrink, the middle class loses its core job opportunities. The very jobs they're training their kids to do when they send them to get MBAs or degrees in finance and computer science. So what should we, the middle class, do? Now, there are no easy answers for this, so I'll only say this much. The answer is not to burn your MBA application or to pull your kid out of the computer science program that you put them in. It is to stop betting everything on one degree and one sector. I'm planning a series of videos on the options ahead of us, but I would like to know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and as usual, please do like, comment and share, and do subscribe to my channel so that you know when the next video drops.